In 1980, the U.S. hockey team overcame all odds to win the gold medal at the Olympics in Lake Placid. They beat the Soviet Union in the semifinal game to reach the final and beat Finland in the gold medal game. Jamie Fitzpatrick's Miracle on Ice stated that this was much more than just a hockey game. With the Cold War still going on and tensions very high between the two countries, this win gave the whole country a newfound hope. Like I said before, tensions were very high between the two countries. They had begun as allies during the World War II, but according to the History Learning site of March 30th, 2015, it then turned into a war between the two because the Soviets began showing their strength with warfare after they had won World War II. There were many bombings all over the Soviet Union, not only on their citizens, but also our troops. The war was beginning to take a toll, and the mood around the country was very grim. In 1980, Herb Brooks was hired as the head coach for the U.S. hockey team. He had been the coach for the University of Minnesota and won 3 national championships for them. He put together a team of young college kids from Boston, Minnesota, and other universities around the country. According to the New York Times of February 2nd, 2012, Herb's philosophy was based on conditioning and team chemistry. He knew they were not as talented as the Soviet team, but he also knew that they would be the better conditioned team. 2 of the most important players on the team were Mike Eruzione, who was the captain, and Jim Craig, the goalie. Orta says that 2 weeks before the Olympics started, Herb scheduled a warm-up game against the Soviets at Madison Square Garden. The Soviets destroyed them 10-3. But I believe that Herb did this on purpose to make sure that his team knew how the Soviets played before they had to play them again. They began the games with a comeback tie against Sweden with a last 30-second goal by Bill Baker. Then the U.S. beat the rest of its opponents fairly easily, which brought them to the semifinal game against the Soviets. The Soviets scored first, which only added to their overconfidence. But shortly after, Buzz Snyder tied it at 1-1. The Soviets scored next, bringing the score to 2-1, about ready to go into the second period. With only 10 seconds left, the U.S. fired a shot down ice at the Soviet goalie. He deflected it away, but Mark Johnson slipped between the sleeping defenders and put it in the net with only 1 second remaining. This gave the whole country hope that we could actually win this game. Going into the second period, the Soviets had decided to bench their starting goalie, who at this time was considered the best goalie in the whole entire world. The Soviets scored the only goal in the second period, bringing the score to 3-2 going into the last period. The U.S. scored again to tie the game at 3-3. The Soviets now started to worry and could not believe what was happening. With 10 minutes left, the captain, Mike Eruzione, gave the U.S. the lead with a slap shot from the blue line. The team and the arena went crazy. Nobody could believe what was happening. The last 10 minutes were filled with great saves by goalie Jim Craig and unbelievable conditioning by the U.S. team. And they took that 1-goal lead all the way to the end. When the clock hit 0, red, white, and blue gloves were thrown in the air, and there was celebration all over, while the Soviets stood and watched. The scene they had just witnessed was nothing short of a miracle. This win brought more than just a gold medal to the country. It brought back hope and a sense of patriotism to the whole U.S. population. This game is still considered the greatest sports story in U.S. history, and that will never change. They overcame the greatest odds to do what nobody thought was possible, to beat the Soviets in a game of hockey. This wasn't just a miracle, this was the miracle on ice.